Not to start out with something heavy here, but the documentary that came out this week about your brother and everything, has that added an extra layer of emotion to this fight week for you in any way?
Not really. I think it was a good thing for us. It allowed me, me and my brother both to, become closer through the whole thing and be more open with each other. So I think it's a good thing. I think it was a good thing. It was almost like something that was always in the back of my mind that would bother me that we didn't talk about. Now, him doing the interview and the documentary coming out allowed us to talk about it, and it's better for our relationship.
Did you watch it?
Did he watch it?
No, did you watch it?
I watched it, yeah.
Yeah. Was it emotional for you to kind of relive all that stuff?
Yeah, I think Rory Karp did a great job with the documentary, and yeah, there's just some of it, definitely got me like a little teary-eyed, but nothing crazy. I didn't start bawling. It was all stuff I knew, but it was cool the way he put it all together.
Good. Well, back to business. This
sir.
fight was obviously supposed to happen earlier this year. Just how are you feeling, physically and everything after the delay, and how are you feeling coming into this fight week?
I feel great. I haven't gotten out of shape since my last fight in August. I've just been in the gym, which really hasn't happened in a long time. Probably the last time it was like my Machida fight since I was in this type of shape. Just being in a new atmosphere, moving down to South Carolina and then being at new gyms and being around different people, different training partners, you put myself in uncomfortable situations, and that's how you grow. And for a long time, I was in very comfortable situations in my gym on Long Island, people I've been training with forever, pretty much me and my boy Volante, Sarah Longo. And so it's been good to get some different looks. And, for this camp, we had Anthony Smith come out for a week. I had Wonder Boy. I have two up-and-coming fighters who come from a Division I wrestling background, who are my size, some veterans of the sport are my size. So just a lot of good bodies my weight or bigger. So I haven't had that in a long time. If you look at the Sarah Longo squad, it's a lot of smaller guys. We got a great squad. But as far as training partners for me, it was mostly Volante.
Yeah, rematches are always interesting. You've had them before in your career and everything, but for the guy who wins and it's so many years later and everything, just what do you kind of feel about running this back with Uriah at this stage?
I'm excited about it. I think it's a cool story that we fought so long ago on a local show and still are at the top in the UFC, the top promotion in the world, and we get to have a rematch. So I think it's cool. I know he's super motivated about it, to have a second chance at me, being that I was the first person to ever beat him, and then, obviously to finish him. It's a scar that's probably on him. So his excitement excites the crap out of me because I'm not just going to lay down for him. I am very, very prepared. And I'm looking to just create a resurgence in my career here.
Do you think, obviously, like you said, a long time ago, a lot's changed since then, but when you're in there, do you try to put him in some of the similar positions and kind of give him a reminder and things like that?
I mean, of course, if you watch that last fight, I would love to just hit him with the right to the left hook, and drop him. I mean, it was a pretty flawless fight on my behalf. So if I could do that, that would be great. I think it's a similar fight as far as back then it was, his greatest chance of beating me was on the feet, and my greatest chance, what most people thought would be on the ground, but it just so happened that I knocked him out. I don't think in this world, in this lifetime, he's going to be taking me down and submitting me. So I think the same thing is at stake here, where there's danger on the feet, and I have to be prepared for that. But he has to be prepared for the same issue on the feet. And then as far as the ground, I think I'm just on a different level for sure.
And you talk about the resurgence. I know you want to fight Izzy. You've said that you think you're a bad matchup for him. Seeing the fight with Jan, did that reinforce that in your mind, some of the things that happened in there?
Yeah, seeing that fight, seeing how, a strong guy was able to out-grapple him and get the takedowns, it definitely reaffirmed the thoughts that I had on that fight. That being said, I got some work to do. I got Uriah Hall. I don't expect to be fighting Adesanya next. I do know I'm a bad matchup for him. I think it's a fight that when I'm able to prove it to everybody, people are going to want to see.
And last thing from me, obviously you know Aljamain Sterling very well. I'm just curious to know your thoughts on just where he is right now, the feedback he's gotten from winning the title and the fallout of everything that's happened with him.
Well, it's unfair, the treatment he's got, for sure, as far as, he did nothing wrong in that fight. He he was losing the fight. You know, there's no question about it. He's going to be the first one to tell you. But he didn't stop marching forward. His will to win never wavered. And it's Jan's issue that he decided to knee him while he was down. That's something that he should be getting a lot of backlash for, but really it turned on Aljamain. And as far as the way he's handling it now, I think he's just kind of rolling with the punches, you know, and I think he felt the backlash, and as opposed to kind of like backing down from it and just getting super quiet, and I think he just kind of decided to go full force onto it. So now the belt's around his waist, and he's not afraid to tell you. And he does the whole Oscar thing, you know. He's taken it really well, you know, for the amount of hate he's getting. But it's definitely unfair. But now at this point, he's creating more hate for himself, almost on purpose. So.
Chris, Uriah was in here earlier, and he said in the back of his mind he always knew he'd probably rematch you at some point. Did you ever think you would rematch him? Now, once he got into the UFC?
You know, I think it was probably on the back of my mind, too. I always felt like we were going to fight. I knew he was a very talented guy. And I'm happy that he has had a career that he's, you know, we're still doing this 11 years later, you know, and we're both from New York. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so I think it was always kind of in the back of my mind at some point it would happen. You know, obviously I always envisioned, you know, I was undefeated world champion and defending my belt. I expected to just keep defending it and then retire. I didn't expect to have all these, you know, losses and then, you know, coming back and forth. And but it's pretty cool how we, you know, both of our careers didn't end up exactly the way we expected. They very rarely do, other than Khabib. But yeah, I'm excited to get in that cage with him.
What have you made of his recent string of success? He himself has said he's finally kind of putting it all together mentally. He's got a good home gym now. So
Yeah.
What have you made of his recent success?
Happy for him. You know, it's good for him. You know, got a good win over Anderson Silva's last fight. And I like to see him with confidence, you know. So I don't want to fight a guy who's just in his own head and he's going to just freeze out there and just hand it over. I want to create that. You know, I want to be the reason why he breaks, not because he breaks himself.
And then looking back on that first fight, what do you remember about the build-up to that fight? Because Uriah was he was in here kind of making jokes about how Long Island's not really part of New York and like, upstate's not part. Like he was like he's like Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx. Like that's New York. So
well, Queens and Brooklyn are on Long Island, aren't they? Yeah, Queens and Brooklyn are on Long Island. But that being said, yeah, come on, Long Island's not New York. Come on, I'm gonna smack him. Now he's gonna get beat up. Wait, so you're in my head with that. What? What's the question?
He was just joking about the build-up to the last. He was talking about the build-up to the last fight.
Oh, okay,
the
yeah. There was definitely like a rivalry going on. It was my first real like bad blood in a fight. You know, I was 2-0 going to that fight. He was, I think, 3-0 or 4-0 or something, and he was the champion. We both had dominated everybody that we had fought before that. And he had a huge team. Being in Tiger Showman's in New York, in the tri-state area, they have like 40, 50 gyms or something like that. And so everybody goes to Tiger Showman's. Like if you do karate as a kid, you're going to Tiger Showman's. And you grow up and you want to do MMA, you're going to be going, you know, you're coming out of Tiger Showman's. And the Serra Longo team, since we had such great fighters, we won really 2 gyms, Serra's gym and Longo's gym. We had great fighters. We started really competing with them, and you know, we were winning a lot. And there kind of was a rivalry that was building. And then you had the top prospect in me and the top prospect in Uriah Hall. And anybody from our gym thought I was going to be unbeatable and there's no way I'm losing. And everybody from his gym thought there was no way he was losing. And the biggest thing that I take away from the build up to that fight was I remember I got a message on Facebook from a girl that I went to high school with. And she had done karate at Tiger Showman's and she, I guess, was still training there. And I got a message saying, Chris, just please be careful. I love you, but please be careful. He's very different. And I'm like, I'm like, you have no idea who you're talking to. So I just like remember being super motivated by that, you know, and wanting to prove like there's levels and I'm up there.
Back to the Sterling DQ loss. Did you get any flashbacks to your fight against Mousasi? Like, there's just a lot of confusion after that fight too.
Oh, that sucked. I didn't really have any flashbacks to that. It just the kneeing when someone's down thing is just it's so different everywhere. You know, a lot of times I don't even know what it's going to be for the show. I'm not even sure. I got to ask. But sometimes, like, so when I fought Mousasi, it was the first time that you had to have not just both hands down, but your palms down as well. And so that's hard to, like, decipher what's going on in that fight, in that moment, you know, when you're tired and the pressure's on. It's hard to figure out, you know, what's up and what's down. And now recently it's like even just if one hand, you know, is down, one finger is down, you're considered down. So as crazy as it sounds to most people, in the heat of the moment, it really is sometimes a confusing situation. That's why you really want to kind of fall to being more conservative there. You don't want to just knee, you know. And the Aljamain thing was very blatant. You know, Mousasi, when he kneed me, he picked I had my palms actually flat down on the mat. And when he kneed me, he actually pulled me up a little bit. So my palms now came, my fingers were all down, but my palms were down. So the ref thought it was illegal. He told me it was illegal, take my time, and I thought it was illegal too. And then come to find out, they look at the replay and say it's not. It was actually a legal shot in that state at that time. So I would like to have more unified rules. I think it's either just allowed kneeing completely down opponents or maybe just the fingers. I just think it's sometimes hard to decipher with all the different rule sets we have.
And finally, who do you like in the main event between Usman and Masvidal?
I can't make a prediction. I'm seeing these guys as I walk through these hallways.
Well,
you think
you don't have to give a prediction like just
No, I'm not telling you. I got nothing. Good fight.
Chris, back here.
What's up, man? How are you?
Been a long time.
I know, man. I remember seeing you in Vegas all the time.
I still make moves.
Look at you. You're making big moves. I love it.
So at this stage of your career, how big of a deal would it be to get a shot and get back to Adesanya and get back on that big stage with all you've been through?
Yeah, it would mean so much. I think it would be a great story for me, and it would end my career on a great note. I think I have all the potential in the world. I just have to do the right things. And for a long time, I got away from, working the way I should be working. I wasn't in the gym all the time. I was cutting a lot of corners as opposed to as far as instead of doing as much work as possible, I was always looking to do as little work as possible. And it was working for me for a couple of the fights that I was winning. So it kind of gave positive reinforcement to some bad habits. I think even with the move, getting out of my environment that I was so accustomed to and comfortable with, and like the habits I had, even just moving, I think allowed me to kind of get back to falling in love with the sport again. Just being in the gym to learn, and I haven't left the gym. I've been in the gym nonstop, and that hasn't happened since probably, like I said, like before my Machida fight was the last time I was doing that. And even for my Vitor fight, that's when I started really like kind of slacking off with my training.
So how much would you say you have left in the tank? Because a lot of these youngsters look at you as the old guard, like with Anderson and Machida in them, when you're like right in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I look good, and I look good. I move good, and you see me in the gym. I look good. I'm going to look good on Saturday night, and I think my work will speak for itself.
I'm not trying to retire you, but looking back on your career, do you think you have done enough to be a UFC Hall of Famer with all you've done so far up to this point in your career?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I won the belt, and I defended it 3 times for some of the greatest of all times. The only person that defended the belt in the middleweight division longer than me is Anderson Silva, who I beat twice. So I don't think there's a question. Not that I'm banking on it or I'm obsessing over it. That doesn't make or break me. I'm just being honest about the answer, about that question.
And where's the confidence going that you got the guy, that you're the guy to get that belt from Izzy? Is it because you kind of got the guy, the original guy? Is that, so to speak, I know they're 2 different fighters, but is that what that confidence is? I've done it once, I can do it again?
No.
Or is it just like a different place, different time?
It's just obvious to me. Like, let's say Yoel Romero was a champion. Stylistically, it's not the best matchup. A super strong wrestler who hits hard. You know, for me, that's probably like not the best matchup. But I've always done good against strikers, long strikers, guys who are very dynamic on the feet. But usually, if you grab them, they're a little weaker but they have great endurance. Like, those are the type of guys that I grab because I have great endurance too. And so I could grab these guys and bring them into my world, and my grappling is just on a different level than theirs, and I could finish them. And so Adesanya, I've seen even before the Blachowicz fight, I've seen, that he's a guy that I just match up really well against, and I know I could get to him. He's going to have to worry even on the feet. You know, he does a great job with his range. He's got great feints. I'm a fan of him on the feet. I watch a lot of the stuff he does, and I emulate it myself in the gym. But that being said, I close the distance on him. I get my hands on him. It's we're just two different levels of human beings in those situations.
And one thing I always liked about you play video games, you watch other sports. What you think about the Askren Paul thing the other day? Did you get to catch that? And what you think about the fallout?
I caught it. I saw him get dropped, and I shut it off immediately and pretended like it didn't happen. I was like, I'm not even going on Twitter. I was like, I just can't believe what I just watched. And that whole situation is kind of annoying as hell to watch as a fighter. First of all, if you watch that Triller event, like I thought, like the commentating, everything was very disrespectful to the actual fighters in the boxing ring. Usually, you hear like uplifting type commentating where they look at the fighters as if they're special people, and they look up to them with all the hard work they put in and how they put their bodies on the line. If you watch like Oscar De La Hoya when he was talking about Frank Mir and the way they were like commentating, I just thought was like really disrespectful to fighters. So I didn't like that. That whole event was super weird. And then as far as Jake Paul and Ben Askren, I mean, Ben Askren is a guy who's an Olympian. He's accomplished so much. I got nothing but respect for him with what he's accomplished in mixed martial arts and definitely wrestling. Big fan of him since I'm a kid. And but as far as a boxing wise goes, if you had to pick one fighter that's doesn't have hands, he never needed them in MMA. He was able to dominate not in the UFC but in other organizations. And he could have won some big fights in the UFC too. I think he had the tools to do it just with his wrestling and his grappling. But he never had striking. So then he retires from MMA. He gets a hip replacement, and then he gets called out to do a boxing fight. And now he's labeled. He's a fighter. He's a mixed martial artist, but he was really known for like not having hands at all. And so now you got Jake Paul with his elevated ego, and his whole squad calling out MMA guys. I'm just like, someone needs to put an end to this.
My question, would you be that guy? And with all the craziness, the disrespect on the play-by-play, would you do it for the money? That's 1.3 billion buys.
Listen, of course, I would love to smash his face, and he would have no chance of beating me. But I also, like, it's crazy. You probably make good money doing that, but I want to fight the best guys in the world. Like, and Cormier said it good too, because he was calling out Cormier, and he's like, why? Like, who is this guy? I don't care how much money I'm going to get paid. Like, why does this guy deserve to fight me? What has he done to fight me? And you don't want to be like an egomaniac, but really, like the guy hasn't earned anything, So on the other side of the token, I don't want to give him that opportunity.
Hey, Chris, right here, straight down the middle.
Yes, sir.
It's been a busy month for the middleweight division at the top. I was wondering, what did you think of the performances by Marvin Vettori and Robert Whittaker?
So Marvin Vettori, I thought looked good. He got the job done, but I don't think it was like I wasn't blown away by it. It wasn't his best performance. He fought Kevin Holland, who he fought like 2 weeks before that, and there was a playbook on how to beat him, and he still wasn't able to finish him. Had him in arm chokes, and he didn't know how to finish arm choke. But Whittaker looked outstanding to me. I think he deserves a title shot. Vettori needs to win, I think, another one. But he's right there. I think Whittaker looked the best he's ever looked, and I thought when he fought Adesanya the first time, he was kind of like uncharacteristically like really lunging into punches and like really wild, and he wasn't as calculated and like slick and using his footwork as he usually is. And I'm excited to see that rematch.
I know obviously you want to be the guy to take out Adesanya at middleweight, but what do you think about Robert Whittaker's chances in the rematch?
Yeah, no, I think Robert Whittaker has definitely chances to beat him. So listen, I love Robert Whittaker too as a person. Like, he's just a cool dude, such a good person. So I don't like to wish bad on anybody, to be honest. I don't hope for anybody to lose. Obviously, someone has to win, but I think Whittaker has a chance in there. And obviously, I would love to fight Adesanya and be the one who dethrones him, because everybody. I love that feeling of everybody thinking you have no chance at beating somebody, and then you go out there and prove it. So I would love that opportunity, but if Whittaker's the one to do it, good for him.
My final question: you gave us your thoughts. What do you think that Ray Longo and Matt Serra are going to say about Uriah Hall saying Long Island isn't part of New York?
I don't. What are you kidding me? I don't know. I don't really have like a good rebuttal on that. I just think it's stupid. I mean, listen, we're not upstate. We're not upstate New York. Now, that's not New York. That's what we say.
Chris, to the left over here. To your left. I want to go back to the kind of the knees thing again, and just where do you stand on like grounded knees and the legality? Are you for them being there? I think it would benefit your style a little bit, but just what do you think about them?
You're just not used to seeing it for a long time. Obviously Pride and stuff, and some of the shows in Asia and Russia, I think, allow it. But for me and my style, it makes perfect sense. And obviously, we're always trying to get closer and closer to as real of a street fight as possible, but also being, but keeping the athlete safe. And I'm not sure, like, the science behind, like, if you learn how to protect yourself properly, even from the knees on the ground, if it's that much of an issue health-wise to the fighters on the ground. If they're, if you're focused on stopping that, I wouldn't be opposed to having knees completely legalized on the ground.
Yeah, and as for your style in general, the last fight we saw a little bit of some Wonder Boy karate movement from you. Just curious if we can expect more of that in this fight.
Yeah, I like mixing it up. I mean, as martial artists, you have to be completely open-minded to every martial art that's ever been around, and like, I do what makes the other person feel uncomfortable. So when I'm in there and I'm working, like if I'm in a traditional stance and I feel like he's getting off and I'm not, and like he feels comfortable when I don't, I'm gonna switch it up. I might switch it to southpaw. I might go Wonder Boy style on him. Might be crazy pressure into my wrestling. Khabib. I take pieces of so many different MMA fighters on what they do great, and I try to create my own.
And last thing for me, I know you've collaborated with Monster a bit in the past and whatnot. Just curious your thoughts on Dominic Cruz's call out of that and Hans Molenkamp.
I don't know what you're talking about. What?
All right.
What?
Yeah, Chris, so your last fight ended a 2-fight losing streak for you. What contributed to your success against Amari, and how would that translate into this fight?
See, I think that fight, Ariel Hawani said it, I think it makes sense. I think that one's going to age well. I think Amari is a really tough guy, a tough outing for anybody. Big, strong wrestler from Dagestan, good grappler, and just he's tough. He doesn't give up. And you could see in his last fight, he dominated a tough kid. That fight was just a battle of wills. That it came down to that third round, and I was able to outwill him and get good positioning. And that fight, really, the biggest takeaway for me was how exhausted I was for about 40 minutes after that fight. I was just just on a whole nother level of tired, and I don't ever want to be like that again. So I really, going into that fight, that was really strong during the COVID times, and I was in New York and training, and my partners and everything. It was just really wasn't ideal, so I didn't get the best work in, and it hurt me in that fight. Thank God I got the win, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. Cardio-wise, so this camp, it wasn't even just during this camp, it's been literally since then. I've been focused on staying in shape and getting in better and better shape.
And last one from me, assuming you have a victory on Saturday night, what do you think is next for you? What do you want to get to that title shot against Adesanya?
I want to go out there and let the fans choose, and decide when they want me to fight, and I got to do that by making some big statements. And I don't expect it to be right after this Uriah Hall fight. I expect to fight another big name after that. And if it takes another one after that, it takes another one. But I think probably 2 fights in spectacular fashion, I really get to show my potential. I think people are going to be wanting to see me fight for the title.